So yeah, first things first, my apologies to everybody who put a bet on NAVI to win their 5th straight grand final, as, yeah, today's the day that G2 broke the curse. Shoutouts to Toxic_A_ who left this comment on the previous recap. By the way, don't be rude to him in the comments, please, that'd be weird. He's also a G2 fan, so really, this worked out. Anyways, despite being on a nearly unstoppable run, NAVI finally ran into a G2 team they couldn't beat. G2 beat them in 4 maps and an epic best-of-5 grand final to secure their 2nd big trophy of the year and the 1st in the Snacks Malbs era. We saw the best and worst of both these teams throughout the proceedings. NAVI are still without a doubt the best team in the world, but they definitely show today why they can be hunted down in the right scenarios, so let's get into what happened. But as usual, before we do, make sure you guys leave a like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It helps out immensely in the YouTube algorithm. And like I usually do at the end of these long tournaments, I just want to say thank you for watching. Going back all the way to the start of EPL, I've pretty much been daily posting for the last 3 weeks, which has been an insane amount of work to say the least, but you guys seem to have been really enjoying the content recently, and the support from you guys has been amazing. Thankfully, there's literally an entire week before the next event I have to cover, I Am Rio, so after this recap, I will be taking a much-deserved break, much like these players in the tournament, after which I'll probably come back towards the end of the week to make another episode in my Getting Better series. Hopefully you guys tune in for that. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into this epic grand final. Alright, as per usual, let's start broad strokes for a second. For NAVI, I think the biggest 2 things that obviously went wrong in this series were Bit and Wonderful struggled, where previously they both had been very good throughout this tournament. The real danger of NAVI over these last couple of months have been their versatility and the ability for any of their 4-star players to take over a map at any notice. And here, their lack of impact definitely contributed to how far behind NAVI felt for most of this series. Bit especially struggled as he only got above a 1.0 rating on their win on Mirage, and that's certainly tough because one of the hallmarks of their CT side is the fact that Bit is such a reliable anchor. And against such a dominant T side like G2, Bit not being as sharp as he normally is definitely contributed to them losing this series. For G2, I have to give credit to them. They're never going to be leaders in terms of tactical depth and diversity, but what they can do is overwhelm you with the fragging power, and that's what they did today. They focused on a very simple playbook, and they executed it very well. Their T-sides were dominant, they were looking great on CT, they managed to minimize Hunter and Snacks as liabilities in terms of fragging, and all of Malbs, niko, and m0NESY especially were insane on all 4 maps. m0NESY ended the series with a 1v2 clutch, he ended the series with 77 total kills, a 1.42 rating, he rightfully won MVP of the tournament, and he finished overall statistically as the 3rd highest rated player in the field, and the only 2 people above him, ZywOo and Flames, played half as many maps as m0NESY, and he wasn't even that far behind them in terms of individual rating. This was a monster comeback tournament for m0NESY, instantly vaulting him back into discussion as one of the best players of the year, where previously, as we had talked about, he has been struggling since the player break to refine that form. And while certainly m0NESY deserved to win this MVP, I will not contest that at all, I will point out the fact that I think the most consistent and the most impactful member of G2 in this tournament was Malbs. Malbs fragging was a consistent threat throughout all of G2 series, and when niko or m0NESY were stepping back, Malbs continued to make space, especially on their T-sides, and find impact. He was a rock for them, he's proving why he deserves to be in a tier 1 team, he's the first Guatemalan player to win a tier 1 championship in CS, all of that's fantastic, and for me, he was the key to G2's success throughout. Alright, so with all the scary big numbers out of the way, let's get into our first map on Ancient, which ended up being a pretty linear affair overall in the sense that both of these teams traded back and forth long streaks of round wins off of the back of being able to control the economy of the other. The difference is that G2 used their pistol round advantages very well here. G2 are one of the highest win percent pistol teams in the world, and on both halves, they would win the pistol round and then convert the next 3 rounds thereafter, going up 4-0 early on both the first and second half. You have to consider how devastating that is to NAVI to be able to come back from. Fully a third of your half's attempts at putting rounds on the board are now off the table. table before you've even gotten one back, and an MR12 that leaves you such little time to mount a comeback. So even with Navi being able to get their own streaks going, there's simply not enough time, there's not enough real estate for you to work that advantage. And unfortunately, Navi struggled a lot to punish the weak points of G2. Like here on round 3, where this round is going to boil down to a 2v2 with Snax and Hunter versus Bit and JL. Arguably Navi's 2 best players versus G2's 2 worst, yet Snax and Hunter are able to convert the round and keep the streak going. And overall throughout this series, G2 was very good at converting these low man situations deep into the round. Here on the very next round, Navi are in a half buy situation, JL is going to get them onto the B site. It's going to come down to a 3v4 with the bomb down, but Hunter in the caves is going to get 3 picks to help get G2 back into this round. Eventually, m0NESY is going to be able to convert the 1v1 against Alexi B, leading to another nice round win for G2. Like I said though, this wasn't a one-sided affair. Once Navi got on the board on their T side, Navi managed to win 6 of the remaining 8 rounds to end the half 6-6. Definitely a winnable position when you consider how good Navi have been on the CT side. But like I already alluded to, that pistol round deficit on both halves made it very hard for Navi to mount the comeback. They fell down 10-6 early before they could even get a round on the board on their CT side. And while they did well to win the next couple of rounds, we come down to crunch time. It's round 20, and this is when G2 showcase what's so deadly about their lineup. B is one of the scrappiest bomb sites in the game, very engagement heavy with limited utility variation, so oftentimes it comes down to who's going to win their aim duels. And when you have Malbs and niko leading the pack, you're pretty capable of winning those aim duels. They just punch their way into the site with everything smoked off. Wonderful's having to play in the backfield. Wonderful, to his credit, gets an insane shot while flash before rotating back to CT, and normally he would have caught Hunter here with this grenade, but the way that the grenade kind of blows up and shrouds Hunter gives him the position to get the kill on Wonderful. At this point, it's a 3v2, a very winnable situation for Navi, but with Emma and Bit in the cave, they just can't find a way to get out onto the site, and it's an 11th round for G2. On the very next round, G2 are totally okay with just going at Navi once again. Even if they lose the rounds, they'd rather lose them going for the fight straight up than allowing Navi to control the pace. This time I think Navi respond better to the B hit by playing more offsite in caves, sitting behind the smokes, not conceding the immediate duels. They even go up with an early pick from Wonderful, so now it's a 5v4 as the bomb goes down. But fair play to Hunter. He's not the player he used to be a few years ago, but he still has his moments of impact, and his CT push here was perfect. Gets 2 kills, Malbs backs him up with one of his own. Now it comes down to Emma in the cave. He takes care of Hunter, he swings onto site. m0NESY's looking for his second kill of the round to clean things up, and boom, we're on match point. G2 converted thereafter and take the 1-0 series lead to go up early. Now, moving on to Dust 2, I think everyone was expecting Navi to bounce back and shut down G2 early, and honestly their opening CT side effort was really good. Holding this G2 offense to just 5 rounds on one of the puggiest maps in the game is definitely something worth commending, but I do think it's worth a little bit more analysis under the scope. We've talked a lot about pistol rounds already, but 3 of Navi's rounds came off the back of the pistol round plus the conversion, and then winning their first full buy round, putting G2 on the economic back foot early. However, from there, G2 would make this a very back and forth half, with neither team winning more than 2 rounds in a row throughout the rest. And that left both teams teetering on the precipice economically throughout the duration of this half. Like here on round 10, where as you can see, Navi, not a whole lot to work with. They do have most of the rifles, but Alexi B is stuck on a pistol. Meanwhile, G2, yeah, they're full bond, but if they take a loss, it's going to hurt. After wasting a bunch of time working out the map control, G2 are going to pile in for the B rush. They're going to clamor into the site. JL is going to make them hurt for it, taking 2 picks of his own before him and Bit get traded out, putting us into a 3v3. Snax is low though, so G2 definitely at the deficit thus far. The bomb is going to go down. Wonderful is going to hit a great spray on the m0NESY, taking him off the server, and then as Snax bows around the window, Navi prepare to push through door, and niko gets an unfortunate double kill, taking Snax out before he gets put down himself. It wasn't intentional, obviously, just Snax caught a bad stray, but Navi take the round and keep their tenuous lead. Navi converted the freebie next round as G2 saved. Last round of the half, G2 really want this one to carry some momentum into the next half. Niko's going to take the opening pick on Bit through the mid smoke as Bit was just trying to cross back to B. Unfortunate, but it does happen. And then G2 are going to do really well to hold Navi's attention on the catwalk. Emma and Wonderful are so dedicated to holding his position, they stay here most of the entire round. They're trading back and forth utility. Eventually, Emma and Wonderful are going to want to get a little aggressive, get some intel, figure out what's going on. They're going to take the peek around the corner, and then Snacks and Niko are going to combine to trade out Emma and Wonderful before Alexi B takes out Niko to leave us in a 2v3 situation. However, the bomb is already in B tunnels, JL is all alone on the B site, and every single remaining G2 player is currently bearing down on his position. JL tries to retake some mid control while Alexi B rotates, however he walks straight into the loving embrace of Munacy, and now it's a 3v1 that G2 convert easily as we head into their CT defense. And they thoroughly controlled Navi's economy to start off this second half. Navi won the pistol round, G2 won the force buy thereafter, and turned it into 4 more rounds, getting them all the way up to a 10-round lead before Navi could get back on the board. And here is where Navi, I think, started to show some inconsistencies on their T side that we saw similar to yesterday, where obviously the Blade style is playing map control and using the entirety of the round as much as you can. Bleed the clock, bleed utility, force the other team to make mistakes. That's the Blade school of thought, and it's also been Navi's dominant playstyle for many years. And when it works, it's fantastic. It's suffocating. It slowly whittles down your opponent so you just pinch in and win the round. And while there were times throughout the series and on Dust 2 where that was very successful, G2 did really well to sometimes combat that by being overly aggressive on the CT side. Like here on round 21, where the combination of Niko and Munacy pushing you on mid is very tough to deal with. They get right up in Navi's face. Munacy takes 2 quick picks with the AWP before Bit can fire one back on Hunter. Navi are going to rotate through. They know Snacks is the solo B anchor, so they're going to want to pressure him a lot here. They're going to make the B push. Snacks are going to go down to JL, but Munacy picks up his third on Wonderful, leaving Navi in a 2v3, but the bomb isn't even crossed to sight yet. Navi smoke the door up, throw some Molotovs in. Niko makes an incredible aggressive decision, gets ahead of the window utility, takes out JL behind car before Bit trades him out. Bit left in the 1v2, navigates this fairly well, I think, manages to get the bomb down, but he's unable to convert the round, putting G2 on the cusp of match point. But on the next round, this is where that slow style from Navi can be so suffocating. They're going to use all the time they can in this round, slowly taking mid control, slowly getting into tunnels, establishing cat control, making sure nobody's pushing long. Eventually G2 are going to find themselves in a position where all they have are the bomb sites. They don't even have forward cat presence, they don't know who's in mid because it's smoked off, so all they can really do is play the bomb sites and have Niko and CT to play intel. The mid to B smoke comes in, Wonderful is going to creep out and find an easy pick on Hunter with his back turned to the doors, which is definitely a communication error. He should know that mid to B smoke's there, he should know that door is vulnerable. That's just a misplay from Hunter, and that pretty much ends the round. With mid to B covered, none of the A players can rotate in, Snacks is by himself, they can pinch onto the B site, and B site is an absolute nightmare retake under the best of circumstances, and 3v5 against the best team in the world is not the best of circumstances, giving Navi the ability to tie the game 11-11. But credit to Taz and Snacks for this call here. They respond correctly to Navi's suffocation by being overly aggressive once again. Hunter's going to take lower tunnels, Niko and Munacy are going to go fast cat together, and though they lose Hunter, they're able to trade out Emma and make sure that Navi can't establish early mid control. JL's going to be in a position where he thinks he's creeping ahead of the mid smoke, but he gets found out by Niko checking under CT, and that puts Navi yet even further behind in this round. Which again, perfect response from G2 by the way, Niko playing ahead of the mid to B smoke to make sure they can't get that mid control and pinch into B. Unfortunately, Snacks does go down as the remaining Navi players push in, but it's a 3v3 retake, much more reasonable than last round, so we know that G2 are going to go for it. And to be straightforward, G2 execute a perfect retake here. They trade, they take the bomb site, and they take match point. They convert the next one after, and G2 go up 2-0 on Navi in this series, threatening to clean sweep them out of the best of 5, which I don't think anybody expected. But wait, we're heading to Mirage, the playground of Navi. And listen, let's not mince words, this is already a long video. We all know what's going to happen here. It's Mirage. Navi are arguably the best team in the world at it. They're going to walk out, they're going to put this G2 assault to a stop. We're going to have a real, intense series. G2 are going to battle back against one of the most consistent teams in the world and prove that they are better both tactically and individually. And it's right behind me, isn't it? What do you mean they only won one round? They're supposed to be the best on this map. Alright, we all know what went down. We watched it. I watched it in Discord with my friends while my brother got ready for work. We all saw it play out. G2 were whipping ass to start this game. Navi looked lost, uncoordinated, unsure of themselves, not playing together whatsoever, making weird mistakes like bad smoke timings, not holding angles, planting the bomb in weird spots. This was not the Navi we have seen tear the scene apart lately. This was a completely different team, and even Blade timeouts could not pull them out of this tailspin. It was actually surreal, and if not for what we're about to talk about happening, there is no doubt in my mind that G2 would have continued on and swept them 3-0. The only reason Navi were in this game is because of one man. Wonderful. And again, we all saw it. If niko takes that swing just a little bit differently, or maybe Snack swings a little bit sooner, it doesn't matter. The point is they swung basically at the same time, and Wonderful hit a play so absurd that even under slow-mo, it still looks like voodoo devil magic. An unreal 4K clutch just to get Navi back on the board and try and salvage this half. And I've only seen this a handful of times in CS. A play is so impactful that it can just essentially cauterize all wounds. It can make whatever happened previously not matter, and a team can change in an instant. The Navi before Wonderful clutches was not the same Navi as after, as they would take that momentum, win the next 6 straight rounds into the second half before G2 could catch a breather on a miracle round just to get one on the board. And I do mean miracle. They have pistols and an AWP on m0NESY, and it takes so many shenanigans for G2 to get this round over the line. niko has to get a deagle shot on Wonderful in window, and then it's not communicated that niko goes on to pick up that AWP. m0NESY hits an insane turnaround flick from the connector. Like, it's just so much stuff is going on. And only because niko's able to cross B site without Alexi be seen and on a pure timing read that niko gets a correct position with this AWP to get the impact. And even then, Hunter has to clutch the round against Bit with an AK in his hand, and Bit misses the spray, a rare miss from one of the most accurate players in Tier 1. Other than that, Navi just shut them down. I mean, the only buy round G2 won on their T side was a literal miracle round from m0NESY to give them their 11th round. If m0NESY doesn't hit these AWP shots on Tetris, this is a clean sweep from Navi. From 9-1 to 13-11 with Alexi B winning a 1v1 just to cap it off. Navi take a map back in this series. And I thought for sure G2 were having their backs up against the wall, and then Navi were getting ready to put the death nail in this series. I thought the reverse sweep was fully online. But here's the thing. The 4th map in this series is Inferno, a map that G2 have been very good on recently, and a map where Navi has looked the most vulnerable out of any in their map pool, taking weird losses like against FaZe Clan where their T-side looked absolutely uncoordinated, barren even, and going even further back, some weird losses to Team Liquid back during the group stage of this very event. Out of all their maps, Inferno is by far the worst. 40% win rate over the last 3 months. The only win in the last 4 going into this set was against G2 back at Pro League. But I'm just going to cut straight to the point. G2 played immaculately on Inferno. They won their first half 7-5 on the T side. Navi could barely hold back the G2 assault. G2 once again rolling up a good lead with an early pistol round win. Their ability to control the economy around those pistol round wins is what's making them so good lately, as I've already stated. Navi only had one good string of rounds where they were able to break G2's economy in the middle of this half, but then the last of it was a battle back and forth, with G2 coming out on top before we swap sides. And once again, like we've seen these last couple days, sometimes this T-side from Navi can look very weird. and this was another case where their T side was just not effective. They weren't able to get these rounds over the line, and despite using as much time and utilities as they could, when it came down to it, the duels did not go their way. And right at the front of the pack, doing some of the most damage to NAVI, was Mr. Malbs, the lobotomist. The new kid on the block, the guy they picked up to reform this roster with, that they expected great things out of, and Malbs delivered on this final map. Him and Niko work so well together on the B side, it's kind of scary. Like, I'm running out of ways to describe this to you guys, because when I watch G2 play in this form, I can't help myself but think, who the hell beats this team? Like, they have to be their own worst enemy, because this amount of firepower and the fact that Snacks and Taz are improving the play calling should scare everybody in the top 5, because it feels like the only way you beat this G2 team is if they don't show up. Like, NAVI ran to the extent of their playbook, but because players like Bit and Wonderful weren't as sharp as they were earlier in the tournament, they couldn't outgun G2. They kept losing the duels. G2 would just crush them before they could even get there, or even when NAVI would get the bomb down, they couldn't hold the post plant. The retakes were just too good. Like, what else could you say except GG when m0NESY just wins 2 of the last 3 rounds in 1v2 clutches? Like, at that point, it's just, you just gotta hang your hat, man. Like, you did everything right, you got it down to the last player, and that last player just happens to be one of the 3 best players in the world, so he's still gonna win that. Like, it's just, you can't help it sometimes. You're just not gonna win the gunfight every single time, and that's what happened to NAVI. G2 sent a statement to the entire scene, beating NAVI in their 5th straight grand final appearance, and take their 2nd major tournament of the year. And this time, no stand-in, no shenanigans. This is G2. The G2 everyone's going to have to contend with at the major in a few months. And honestly, the thing that sticks in my mind most right now is the fact that we know this G2 roster is on a timer. Like, this roster has so much potential, and it might be breaking up in less than 4 months, which is insane to think about. A topic for another day. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. It's been another very long recap, another great tournament in the books. Like I said, I'll be taking a little sabbatical for most of this week to recharge and rest up. So make sure you guys come back for content whenever it resumes on the channel. Do me a solid and drop me a follow on my Twitch channel. I stream at twitch.tv/LionHeartZ2. I stream Sunday through Friday at 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Hopefully you'll come check me out. These videos are powered by Advanced.gg. Make sure you check the link in the description. Go to their website and browse any of their excellent products. And if you decide to make a purchase, you can use my code LIONS10 for 10% off. Thank you to Advanced. Shout out to Refrag as well. They are the #1 improvement platform for Counter-Strike, and I fully believe in what they can offer to anybody trying to get better at the game. If you want to check them out, get a subscription. You can use my code LION15 at checkout for 50% off. Thank you to Refrag. Shout out to my channel members, Justin, Jesse, Furley, Bubblesj, Dr. Cocktor, and Milan Berta. If you want to become a channel member, you can do so in the link in the description as well. Other than that, I'll see you guys soon with another video. Peace.